Welcome to In the Funnel. My name is Mark Cox. In the Funnel is a group of sales coaches and consultants that help B2B sales teams dramatically improve revenue. Clients come to us when revenue growth is stagnated, or their sales team is not meeting expectations, or they need to recalibrate their sales and go-to-market plan for the upcoming year. Our clients have enjoyed tremendous success working within the funnel, and please hear it straight from them by listening to the testimonial section of this website. What they'll tell you is there's two things that make us unique and different in our space. Number one, we have a process and a methodology. First, for understanding your current state, and then second, for building your sales and go-to-market plan for the upcoming year. The second thing that makes us unique and different is that everybody within the funnel has run a material sales organization in their recent past. We're all practitioners. We don't have any theorists or teachers, and what that means is we can get in front of your sales team and run the next sales meeting, or join them on their next sales call to close your next large prospect. All of us have a passion for professional, disciplined, process-driven sales, and we'd be delighted to talk to you if you're looking to grow revenue for your company. Please feel free to reach out to us through this website at info@inthefunnel.com or by telephone. Thanks for taking the time to watch this.
I met all the key people from that organization. They saw me on the floor working. And can you imagine, the relationship that I was able to get with them and talking to them personally and talking to them about their situation and the trust that I was able to build. And I really feel that by doing that, it really takes you to a new customer intimacy and a new level of trust. Because I can tell you, I don't know many salespeople that do that, but I don't think that it would be very hard to do if you really wanted to see what it was like a day in life of your customer.
Hey team, one of the things we all strive for in professional sales is to be regarded by our clients and prospects, frankly, as a trusted advisor. And that tends to be a little bit of a buzzword. And it's also this level of engagement that's exceedingly difficult to achieve. And so today's conversation is with one of those people that constantly achieves that level of status with his clients and prospects. Somebody I've been enormously impressed with in all my discussions, because all of my discussions with David Fauser have been about how he or the organization helps their clients and achieve that trusted advisor status. Many of you know David as a teammate helping with some of these podcasts we've done recently, so you recognize David. But his day job is actually as Director of Sales for CIMCO Refrigeration, which is part of the Toromont Group, very, very large organization. And David himself is Director of Sales, runs a sales organization somewhere between 140, 150 people at any given time. And one of the things he still does, even at that level, is have the ability to be engaged or to engage his clients and prospects and achieve that trusted advisor status. And we're going to talk about that in today's podcast. How do we put ourselves in the shoes of our client or prospect? How do we truly focus on helping them achieve their desired business outcomes? And in doing so, how the outcome from that will end up being we achieve ours. So we're huge fans of David, as everybody knows from this show. I'm sure you're going to really enjoy today's discussion. He and I enjoyed having this discussion. And by the way, if you do enjoy today's podcast, please like and subscribe to the Selling Well podcast and tell your friends. Here's David Fauser. Hey, David. I thought this was kind of an interesting opportunity for us, given the fact you've been such a great teammate running, the Selling Well podcasts. And by the way, everybody by now knows you're the one asking the smart questions. You're the one actually well prepared for them. But one of the things I think that's so cool about, and the reason I was so keen to get you to help me on the podcasts is because you're in a pretty unique position. So when you're running a sales team north of 100, you got 130 some odd folks. Also, given the large scale and small scale solutions you provide, you guys will sell deals that could be multi-million-dollar deals over multiple years, right down to maintenance contracts that are 50,000 or 60,000. I think you see such a span and scope of things that your insights are really, really interesting to me, because I can't imagine there's a harder sales leadership job out there with the number of people and the breadth of solutions that you're providing. You have to have this broad and deep expertise. What are you seeing out there? Like, if we're trying to talk about what's most important these days, what is most important in professional selling in your view?
Well, yeah, Mark, well, thank you for those kind words. I think that there's probably a lot of, I mean, every job I think is pretty difficult for sure. And I'm certainly lucky to be in such a supportive organization with such a great team, with such a great product. I mean, I know you often say, like, would you rather have a great sales team or a great product? I think we're pretty fortunate here to have both. So I feel very, very fortunate. So as a leader, it certainly makes your job a lot easier for sure, and allows you to sort of focus on some other areas. But I would say, Mark, like, I mean, it's nothing, this is not an epiphany in any way. It really just comes down to these customer relationships. And I think because of the amount of information that's available out there, and you know, the amount of like how educated our clients are, how sophisticated they are, that I've seen just in my short 20-year career as a sales person and sales leader, I really think it comes down to these customer relationships where you're adding value in some way. And I think that has to be still the most important thing that to focus on as a sales professional.
Yeah, well said. When you think of where we are, 2022, the end of 2022, most industries facing maybe some tailwinds economically moving forward. We talked to Herman about 8 to 10% inflation staying a long time. I've seen a couple of other economists recently. This customer intimacy, love your customer, getting close to the customer. I think there are always buzzwords around that, and we work with a lot of clients and see a lot of businesses out there that say they love their clients. No harm to Canadian banks, but Canadian banks tell me this all the time, but nobody there loves me at all. And so what does it mean? Like, how do we actually take it from the concept to practical application? Dave, everybody listening to this wants a better relationship with their customer for sure. And they want that, you know, whatever you call it, trusted partnership, you know, strategic partnership relationship, but it's really hard to get there.
That's a great question. It's very difficult to do, and you can't do it with everybody. So I think you do have to pick and choose where I think that you think maybe your value will be valuable. You know, Mark, by luck, I stumbled upon something last week. I was invited to take part in a customer event, or a customer, what they do, right? And they invited me, and I was able to do it. And you know, what was interesting is I got there, and I said to myself, listen, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just sort of jump in and help out like I'm working for the company. And I had no idea how valuable that is to do, because when you know, for 3 days, I walked the shoes of somebody who's like would be an entry level person, doing things like disassembling equipment and you know, taking temperatures and readings, and I really dove in and saw what it was like. But that, I think, Mark, by far is going to be my 2 most valuable days of my entire year.
Whoa.
Because I think so, because the things that I saw and seeing it from their perspective, because I'm always, you know, we sell refrigeration systems, so I'm always so focused on the refrigeration systems. And when I'm talking to the clients, I'm very guilty of really, you know, focusing on that area. But I got to see beyond what that is, and how important that the role that it plays, but also all the other dynamics. Like when I was working for those 2 days, Mark, I wasn't thinking at all about the refrigeration system.
Yeah.
I was thinking about other factors that really what really mattered. But I'll tell you though, out of doing that, I met all the key people from that organization. They saw me on the floor working. And can you imagine, you know, the relationship that I was able to get with them, and talking to them personally and talking to them about their situation, and the trust that I was able to build. And I really feel that by doing that, it really takes you to a new customer intimacy and a new level of trust. Because I can tell you, I don't know many salespeople that do that, but I don't think that it would be very hard to do if you really wanted to see what it was like a day in life of your customer.
There's the takeaway for today, team out there. Do you want to sit and do a day in the life of a customer? Do you want to go in and talk strategically at senior levels about things, or do you actually want to roll up the sleeves so the next time you do that, you are so better informed at your business? David, can you imagine how the fact you kind of rolled up the sleeves at this event and we're helping with everybody, can you imagine how that would spread within the organization? Senior people are going to see that and go, who is that guy? And they're going to get told who that guy is and what he's doing. And now they go, well, listen, this is an organization, that doesn't, that isn't just intimate with us when they want to sell us something. They're intimate with us where they want to understand our business so they can go away and think about how to help. And this is all easy to say. It's so hard to do in practice, team, but I can't imagine a client who doesn't want this. I can't imagine. I love, by the way, when folks are reaching out to in the funnel, David, there's so many things we need help with, really behind the curtain, if you will, marketing and branding and all these kind of good things that probably aren't part, of my immediate core competency when I'm doing this kind of thing. I would love someone to come to us and say, listen, we've done some analysis, or we'd love to spend 2 hours with you in the business and then really understand how we can help. But it's so rare. Like, it's just so rare that anybody wants to do anything except ask me the 3 questions where the answers lead to them saying, I can solve it, and here's my product, and let's do a demo.
So true, Mark. Yeah, so true. Like, what I can tell you for sure is that since doing this experience, I've had 3 sales calls with 3 similar clients, and they were amazing because I was able to reference that I had spent time and I understood the problem. I said, I get this. I've been there. I feel that pain. And I did feel the pain on a couple of things. And when you speak their language and they get it, you get it, you then have that you're in this tremendous position to really help the client, which then helps you to get to that trusted advisor or somebody who's co-creating solutions or somebody who's actually driving value. So remember we talked about earlier about, the key is this relationship and bringing value to the customer. And I would highly recommend to anybody in sales to schedule in a day or two. And I actually think, Mark, like, you said to yourself, I'd be very open to somebody coming in and learning how I could help. I got to think that most of our clients, like, you could say, hey, do you mind if I, work the floor with your team for a day just so I could see what it's like? Do you mind if I hang out with your operations person for an entire day or whatever it is? Do you mind if I hang out in your IT department for a day or whatever it is? And I think you'd be very surprised. It may seem like a waste of time, but I think you'd be extremely surprised with the benefits that you would get from it.
Well, so why I'm enjoying the conversation so much, David, I'm just thinking myself, even if I look at in the funnel and just go, the next time somebody brings us in for help or for some large scale corporate private training, maybe a mandate, not an optional, but a mandate is, I need to spend 3 days, 4 days with your team in the field. I need to spend with, 8 people, half day each, jump on a plane, jump in the car, whatever it is, and just travel around with them. Mm-hmm. And then come back. And then we have this conversation about, okay, where do we think we could actually help elevate sales performance really?
Yes.
So move from concept to actual. I have, lots of these fantastic stories. And one I want to share, David, where large financial institution invited the CEO of one of our clients in, software provider, technology provider. And it was 2 executives in a meeting room, and it had nothing to do with the technology they sell or provide. They said, listen, there's a few things going on. We just want to get your opinion on a couple of things. And that executive goes over for a workshop for an hour and a half, had nothing to do with selling product, but because he's so deep in the industry, and they know, and he's been deep for a long time, but they also know that they have expertise because they have so many clients. So what these senior leaders want to know is really two things. What are best practices out there for running the businesses, you know? And, your organization, David, very good position to help there because you have so many clients, 6,000 clients. And then on top of that, what's coming down the track that I'm not even aware of? You and I are hockey lovers. Every once in a while, you get blindsided by something, and it isn't the impact, it's the surprise of it. The impact's not pleasant either, but it's the surprise. I just wasn't prepared for it. Whereas if I know somebody's barreling in to maybe wake me up a little bit, at least I can prepare for it. So I was just so inspired when this organization came to them. Now I just thought to myself, what if every single client they had did that? And what if every single client looked forward to the quarterly health check meeting?
Yeah.
Because they're going to listen. Part of my job is staying abreast of what's happening out there. I need to talk to people who can help me. And this organization is really a trusted partner. What are your thoughts, David, on, let's say I'm a provider of something out there today, but I'm not viewed as a strategic partner. I am viewed as a supplier. I'm probably, my relationships are at a lower level. Maybe I get 20% of the available business from an account. My competitor has 80. What can people do today to try and elevate their status within the account?
There's a lot that can be done, Mark. And, first of all, I think that you're going to want to know who the various players are. So I reach beyond just a single person that you may be contacted with. The other one is a pretty simple thing, and it's just a bit of a mind frame trick that I know several people use. I think including yourself. I probably heard this from you originally, actually, but instead of having this sort of hat on that I'm the salesperson, I got to sell something, you put that hat on like I'm a learner here, like I'm a learner, and then really being, ruthlessly focused on the customer. How do I make this person's job easier? And through that, I think that focus, as opposed to I need to sell them this, whatever it is, and then diving in and really looking through the customer's eyes and how you solve problems and can bring value to their organization. I mean, that's easier said than done. Like, it is not easy to figure out how you bring value in, but the only way you can do that is by being curious and asking questions and understanding their pains, and not jumping in with a solution after 3 questions like we talked about, and really diving in to see what you can do. I think that's a pretty good start. Another thing too is being really, really responsive, because I know that we deal with a lot of suppliers on my end, and then, I'm dealing with the ones who get back to me the fastest. Now, out of all the suppliers that I deal with, none of them call me up when I'm not buying something. Very, very rare that they call me up when I'm not buying something. So I think another thing to do would be to check in with them. Like, your health check is just such a, when certain times, Mark, some of the things that you talk about, some of the tools that you have, that health check tool, if anybody listening, I know it's on your website, that's worth its weight in gold, because that provides you that opportunity to bring value to the organization, to talk to them when you're not buying, right? When they're not buying something, they're way more open. They're way more open. So, I mean, those are just a couple of tips off the top of my head, Mark, but I know that you have 1,000 more, right, on what you can do. So,
well, David, I think you're spot on those ones. I absolutely love this idea of reaching out and having these conversations with your clients and prospects when there isn't an opportunity on the table. Everybody's responsive and they have their Sunday best on when we're trying to bid on something. But I think the question becomes, what value are we providing when that's not the case, before that's the case, so that we get perceived in a different light? The other thing is a big thought. So I think the health check for me is it was the simplest way that we could think of coming up with it, where we say, let's trigger a meeting and let's have a simple agenda where all we want to hear about, first of all, okay, if we're a supplier, let's hear a little bit about how we're doing for you. but more importantly, tell us about your business. Okay. And after we've earned the right for that conversation by doing our own research, but what were the top priorities for the year? How'd you do against them? What are the implications of those things? What are your competitors giving your clients in the marketplace that you're not? You know, what are the strategic objectives for the companies for the coming year? And how do those things cascade down to your group and your department? How do you define success moving forward? And I think when you get to that level of having that kind of conversation, product never comes into it. But I think we're all in this boat, David, where we have to earn the right for somebody's time for that conversation.
Mhm.
So if I'm an expert in this space, maybe you're going to give me a little bit of time for this kind of conversation. If I'm just pitching sales training for the coming year, the same old, you have no time for me whatsoever.
No, I get a LinkedIn message like that every day, Mark, of somebody pitching sales training to me.
Right. Here's the funny thing. I get a LinkedIn message every week from somebody pitching sales training because they haven't even taken a look at my LinkedIn profile to say, this guy's a sales trainer. Maybe he doesn't need sales training. No, by the way, I'm a lifelong learner. You never know.
Mhm.
But I'm certainly going to do Frank Cespedes' course at Harvard on selling. But the the point being, this is a lifelong thing, and I think the X factor, by the way, right now that people could think about is when I work with all of these amazing clients.
Mhm.
Okay. When I have these conversations with their salespeople or their pre-sales engineers or their operations folks, they know so much, but it's siloed.
Mhm.
I think there's an interesting thought about how do we, if we think as an organization that we want to compete and differentiate based on our understanding of our clients and our markets, how do we capture the organizational learning in a place that's easy to go to, easy to stay current with, and then easy to share with those clients
Mhm.
so that every sales call, there's something else I can add value to. In your space out there, folks, what are the top podcasts in your space? Who are the top thought leaders? What are the top white papers? These don't have to be things you created. These are things you curate and store so that the sales team can leverage them. What are the top trends? What are the top issues? What are the top companies doing? How do you become this expert, in the industry as well as your client's business? Because they may be taking a unique strategy or approach. And you talked about being this learner, David. I don't think this ever ends because no business is stagnant anymore. Things are changing. Every 18 months, everything changes.
Absolutely, Mark. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, you gotta be a lifelong learner for sure. And you just it's like working out, right? You just it's like one of those things. I didn't want to get on the Peloton last night, right? I was tired. But man, after 45 minutes, was I ever happy I did? I think it's the same thing with picking up a book. Like, nobody really wants to pick up a book. I mean, you'd rather do 100 other things, but read a chapter. And I think that you'd be really surprised. I mean, at the end of it, you'll have 100 ideas, and it's just that mindset. And I know you talk a lot about mindsets a lot, and I think it's just being aware of it and conscious and just pushing yourself. And Mark, we're not talking about 5 hours a day here, right?
No, no.
I mean, if you did a half hour a day for 5 years on this topic, you would be a worldwide expert in 5 years. I'm sure of it, right?
Oh,
You know,
Dave, I completely agree. I completely agree. Plus, if you're already in it, you know a lot to begin with.
Mhm.
But I completely agree. If you can set up that atomic habit, thank you, James Clear, that atomic habit, where every day, because we all see so many things. You and I had the joy of reading a great HBR article on AI in sales.
Mhm.
If we just every day, if just read that today, we're both better off. Takes 30 minutes, do it over a cappuccino.
Mhm.
I'm drinking caffeine makes me super happy, so I really absorb things well. Just setting up that habit where you're a lifelong learner, and then suddenly you start to realize that meetings with clients and prospects are easy and super fun,
Mhm.
right? What's not super fun is, hey, Mark, I've got another sales training company that's offering the same thing for $5 less. Do you want to meet that? I have no interest in that conversation ever again.
No.
So, and by the way, if somebody ever asks me that question, I'm adding no value. If I'm a commoditized sales trainer, I'm going to point them to some other places to go. But if we actually really understand their business, we're trying to elevate sales performance, we understand top trends, not just in our industry, but their industry, then I think some unique things can come to the table. And this is a lifelong process. David, I actually thought this topic was super important given everything that's going on. And I actually think a lot of our folks listening to this today, they're going to be reaching out to clients and prospects early in the new year who might start a conversation by saying, we're really worried about 8 to 10% inflation. All of our budgets have been cut. Hey, Mark, there's nothing you're going to be selling us in the next 12 to 18 months. And I think this is the opportunity for us to come back and go, I completely understand. That makes all the sense in the world to me. But there's a few things where I think I can help you with. Just given a few things I'm seeing elsewhere in the industry, let's have a conversation and I'll share some insights that have nothing to do with sales training, but have everything to do with improving sales performance without us. I think people might want that conversation, and they're also going to go, wow, that's a unique approach.
Yeah, you're right, Mark. We're talking right now because your approach that you took during COVID, where you started to do free webinars, and I started attending them. I said, okay, and I probably attended 15 or 20 of them before we had a conversation. And I think that, and you weren't looking for anything out of them. You were just doing it for the sake of just being, your strategy of just being out there and being relevant. And I do think what you just talked about is exactly what we're going to do here with our clients, because I know for sure we're going to face some headwinds. Like, that's coming. I hope it's not, but I'm pretty convinced we're going to be in for some rocky roads ahead in regards to the business environment that we're going to be facing. So we're going to have to do things like that and be ultra customer focused in regards to how do we add value, even if it means we're not going to have a transaction, because things will turn around and we will survive, and when we may be stronger after. And so that's where we're going to be focusing for sure.
Hey, that's the takeaway from today, folks. I don't think it can be said any better than what David just did. That's the takeaway for today's quickie podcast, where we think about, for next year, how do you get a running start at reaching out to all of your clients, initiating health check meetings, entering those meetings, not because I want to check mark a box to say, I had a health check meeting with the same people I talk to every time, talking about the same things. How was our SLA? Actually strategize on how you can actually help them based on knowledge, insights, process, best practices. Have that discussion and go into it first as the learner. Okay, how are things affecting them at a business level? Let's have a long conversation about that. And I think if you can get to that point, here's the other great thing, by the way. The more of these conversations you have with your clients, the more of an expert you become. If you're pitching your product, you stay an expert in your product. If you're having a conversation about them and their business and the industry and what's taking place, it starts to aggregate. You're seeing trends. You become the expert because you've had so much experience having these conversations. So I think that's what we've got to tee up absolutely in Q1 of 2023. Just trigger a value conversation, make it about them, and good things are going to happen here.
And if you're not sure and you don't know, spend a day walking a mile in their shoes. Like, find out, go. Because your business that you're in business because you add value to somebody. You're not, maybe not, a lot of salespeople say, hey, they just want to buy the lowest price. Well, everybody I deal with, I always say, hey, the X guy's cheaper than you. That's all salespeople hear all the time. But they do buy, you do sell things. So there's a reason why. So I think by spending that time, then that's only going to make that value conversation even easier. And then, said something to Mark, is I had so much fun this week, in those 3 sales calls. I couldn't wait to tell them what I experienced at, at this other, and I had this credibility because I walked the mile. And then it was just an amazing thing because I got it. I felt their pain and I got it. And I had fun, man. I had fun. I had so much fun this week, and it was a totally different way of selling. And I encourage everybody to do it who love sales like I do, and want to be the best at their job. It's a really unique way to connect.
You hear some things in life, by the way, in business where you go, maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't. And then you hear other things where you go, that can't be a mistake. No. Folks, what David just said cannot be a mistake. It's impossible for it to be a mistake. This is what we have to act on right away. And hey, David, as usual, it's always great having a chat with you. Thanks for your time today.
Oh, Mark, I love it. So I look forward to the future podcast. I know we got a lot of good guests coming up over the next few months, and thank you for having me along on this journey. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are benefiting from the knowledge of the guests that they're sharing. So,
yeah, it's amazing the guests we get on the podcast, and isn't it? We're so lucky, including you.
Thanks, Mark.
And by the way, team, thanks so much for listening today. As always, we really do this for you, so you can grab some strategies or processes or tools that you can apply to you and your business and your industry today, immediately. We want to improve the performance and professionalism of B2B sales. And we want to improve the lives of salespeople. That's what we want to do. In addition to that, we also want to hear from you. So in the event you think there's things we can be doing better, please let me know. Give us your feedback. We love constructive criticism. You can reach me, by the way, Mark Cox at inthefunnel.com, Mark Cox at inthefunnel.com, or you can message me on LinkedIn. Now, if you enjoyed today's podcast, tell everybody you know. Okay, like, subscribe, tell your friends, wear our t-shirts at your son's hockey games, tell everybody. Thank you as always, folks, for listening to us today. We're having a little fun on a Friday morning. We appreciate you, and we look forward to speaking to you next time with the Selling Well podcast.